Okay, so there was a groundbreaking movement at Dartmouth University to unionize, and they voted today to be the first Division I college athletics team to hold a public unionization effort. And I'm reading this from Yahoo Sports. Ross Dillinger, who does a really good job of covering college athletics. The move is likely months away from directly impacting other college athletic programs, and appeals process works its way through the National Labor Relations Board, an independent agency that enforces U.S. labor law related to collective bargaining. The team voted 13-2 to unionize and authorize the Service Employees International Union to bargain on its behalf, a powerful and politically connected organization. The SEIU represents 2 million employees over 100 occupations. The team is expected to present a list of demands, potentially including a student wage and more medical coverage and better treatment in a variety of team-related issues. Okay, so here's the thing. I believe that there's a word that's used, okay, and it's used over and over and over again about college athletes, and it's actually taking place now, hasn't taken place previously. Okay? What do we always say, Ilo, and J. Stu, and Prophet? What do people say that players, they're being used, they're being manipulated, they're being what?
Exploited.
Exploited. What does the term exploited mean? Exploitation. Okay? I looked it up during a break. It's to use in an unfair and selfish way. To use in an unfair and selfish way. It's a pretty good definition, right? And so the thought is that colleges use their student athletes in an unfair and selfish way. We just make all the money and you do all the work. Let me give you my argument, which predates all of this stuff. Okay. First of all, yes, colleges make money on their college basketball and college football programs. Most of them. They do. Do you know what else colleges make money on? Everything. Okay. College athletics and universities, colleges and universities in general, there's a lot of religion to it. And by religion, I mean, hey, man, when you are starting a church or a synagogue or a mosque, and you have, and you're working with your religion, that's a tax-free shelter, right? So you're making money and you're not paying taxes on it. Here's the thing about colleges. They make money on everything. Everything. And what's really interesting about an Ivy League school and the worst basketball team in the Ivy League doing this is the Ivy League is like the last bastion of we don't actually care about the making the money. You actually are a student athlete. It's actually a terrible argument for Dartmouth. Because one, I guarantee this, Dartmouth, even though they don't have scholarships, they do have aid. Okay. One of the things you don't realize about the Ivy League is they've changed a lot of the aid policy. And I believe it's up to $75,000. If your parents make up to like $75,000, you go for free to all these schools, regardless student athlete. Like you're literally treated like everybody else. You are a student that plays basketball. And by playing basketball, what does it do? And here's a big part that no one tells you. What they do is they exploit students and they use them to weaponize them to somehow even some score. I'm guessing that a good portion of Dartmouth's basketball team wouldn't be at Dartmouth if it wasn't for the fact that they play basketball. Right, we saw this scandal going back, what was it, about 10 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, where parents, mostly in Southern California, were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to be labeled as an athlete so they could gain exceptions to USD, USC, all these other schools. Why? Because it's easier to get them into school. That has value, especially in the Ivy League. The crazy part about it is, okay, let's say they are employees. Say they are employees. Cool. Okay, one, they can be fired, which they can't now. Don't believe what anybody tells you. If a kid does not want to leave an institution and doesn't even want to play the sport anymore, you cannot get rid of them. They will still be on scholarship. Okay? Now, if they get caught in trouble outside with the law, you can run them off. If they get failing grades, you can run them off as well. And you're like, that's not true because I read it somewhere. You've been manipulated. We have exploited stories which are inaccurate. Now, they may take you off football scholarship and put you on a general scholarship, but you'll still have a scholarship. But it's my belief that these Dartmouth players are being used and being exploited. We're going to come up with demands. What demands? Like, what are you going to ask for? We want additional insurance. What additional insurance are you entitled to? When you play college sports, you have complete medical care and medical coverage. You're not going to get medical coverage beyond that of your graduation. No one's going to do that. Okay? And there have been many that have pushed for this for college football. The problem with it is it's so expensive to insure guys post-graduate, post-career. It brings down the entire system. You can't do it. And look, you may think, hey, you're not a union guy. I've been in a union, SAG-AFTRA, for over a decade. Okay? Unions, true unions, you have to pay dues, and you can get benefits from them. That's actually what SAG-AFTRA provides you. Your benefits, your healthcare insurance. Right? It actually can be a relief to the schools. Like, oh, you guys want to be a true union? Sure. Pay your dues. Get your insurance there. We don't have to do it. Problem solved. You can only practice for 20 hours a week, which, by the way, is the dumbest rule ever. Every athlete wants to be there more than 20 hours a week, but only the coaches can be involved with you for 20 hours a week, 8 hours a week out of season. You're going to fight for less than that? Okay. You want to work less, then you'll get less benefits. And then, oh yeah, by the way, when your employee not only can get fired, but then all the other benefits you receive, you're technically supposed to be taxed on. Taxed on. How many of you guys have ever moved for work? Cross country. I know you have. Right? Well, you moved? Had to move for work and they gave you money to move for work?
No.
Okay. Chase, have you?
I have not, no.
Brefett?
I've moved cross country, but on my own, not paid.
Here's I've worked for obviously three of the biggest companies in broadcasting. Okay. I think ESPN and Disney is the best from this perspective. I think they still do it. When you sign with ESPN and you have to move to Connecticut, you don't touch anything. They're just like, hey man, have a clean house. Tell us when to be there. We pick it up. They also, believe it or not, they pick up when you get relocation, your relocation allocation, or whatever, they actually pay your realtor fees. Real deal. They'll come in, they pay. I remember we sold our house in Oklahoma City in like 2 months and we made like $25,000, but we actually made the money because they ate the realtor fees. It was great. Right? And then they pick up they hire movers, and the movers, like, you don't pack anything. You don't have to do anything. They pack it all up. They wrap it all up. They label it all. You kind of sit there and watch them and do the checklist thing or whatever. And they get there and then they unpack it all. They put it all. It's amazing. There's a catch though. Say that costs them $20,000. You get taxed on the $20,000 as a benefit. That's the law. Same thing happened. I worked with CBS. They moved me across country from Connecticut to New York, and then back from Connecticut to Orange County, and then in 2014 from Orange County back to Westport, Connecticut. Okay, and both times I think it was like a $30,000 allocation, which is a lot of money. Like, you can really have a nice moving company. You don't have to do anything, whatever. But when your first check comes, what do? They take out the tax. They tax you on that $30,000. Okay, technically, any of the benefits you get can be taxed. Like, hey, we're going to hire a strength and conditioning coach, and we have to pay however much we have to pay. They can technically tax you on that. They won't charge you for it, but they can pay the tax on it. Right? There's all sorts of different things, right? How does it affect Title IX? How does it affect a basketball program like Dartmouth that doesn't make any money? I know at least 20 high major programs that aren't making money in college basketball this year. They're losing money. Losing money. So we operate under this assumption that every school is like Alabama football. Every school is like Texas football. Every school is like Ohio State, where they just print money. Right? And the truth is that it's not really that way for a gigantic number of them. And then you get to the non-revenue producing sports, which on college campuses they usually call Olympic sports. We are weaponizing college athletes from traditional revenue producing sports to somehow even the score. When I gotta tell you, the only thing that's going to be hurt is college student athletes. It's college student athletes. And you're like, how? If you start paying your revenue producing sports, if you start employing them, if you start insuring them above the level of the insurance possible, if you start creating more and more overhead, something's got to give. There is not endless supplies of money. It does not work that way. If you want to run this like a business, we will run it like a business. And what happens with business is if you're not making money, you're gone. I use this analogy all the time. And it's because I have a good friend who's an executive at Nike. Nike bought Cole Haan. Cole Haan, famous dress shoes. And many of you, I'm sure, during that era and even beyond, have bought some Cole Haan dress shoes because they put the air sole in it. And suddenly, like, dress shoes are like comfortable and kind of cool, right? You guys remember that? Okay, they sold Cole Haan back, I think, to Cole Haan. Do you know why? You're like, well, it wasn't making any money. Well, it was. It was only growing at 8%. You're like, well, that seems pretty good. Nike will not keep anything that doesn't grow at 12% or more. Do you know why? Because it's a business. And that's how you run business. And that's how you win. You know what else Nike has done, which is brilliant? Do you shop for sneakers? You a sneaker guy? Vito, I'm sure he's a big sneaker guy. He's got a different pair of Jordans every day. I don't know if they're real or they're fake. I think they're real. So Vito, if you got sneakers, I think those are real Jordans. If not, you fooled me. Have you noticed what Nike has done? Like, now their website is everything. Plus they got the sneakers app. If you're a sneakerhead, you know the sneakers app as well. Okay. And if you look, like, a pair of Jordans are $130, right? It's the same price that you can go on the website for Foot Action, Foot Locker, whatever, and you can buy it there. The difference is they used to sell those shoes to Foot Action, Foot Locker for $50, and then they would upcharge you and sell it for $130, and that way both sides would make money. Now, they cut out the middleman, charge the same price, make twice the profit. Do you know why? Because it's a business. And that's how you run businesses. You try and make as much money as possible, and you cut away the ones that aren't making money. Hell, it's the same thing in our business. Right? You look at the sheet and you're like, well, okay, did you make enough to cover how much we pay you? Technically, yeah. Like, at our business, I believe at each show, we want to make 3 times the money it costs for the show. That's your marker. And you know what happens if you don't hit that marker? They get rid of you. And they find somebody who will. Maybe who costs less. That's how it works. So I understand that you've read stories and you think that there's all these university executives that are just like swimming in money, and they show up with gold-plated Rolls Royce to work, and it's all about money, and they don't care about the athletes and whatever. Just make me some more money so I can make some more money. The reality is that I believe a lot of these student athletes are being exploited. Okay? The same thing that you say you're against that universities do, where you use in an unfair and selfish way, we as media members, the NRLB, okay, these people don't give a crap about the players or the athletes. They're like so many. We want to bring down the man, bring down the system. Again, I've been a union member Over a decade. Okay? There's some really good stuff that comes out of unions. Right? Really good stuff. They can protect the rank and file. They can help, but it also can be really, really hard. And usually what happens with unions, is the top kind of get screwed because the rank and file are the greatest number of the athletes. And here's the other part to it. What we're headed for, the World War III scenario is all the NRLB organizing all these unions, organizing all the athletes. We're going to negotiate. And if we don't get our way, we won't play. Very possible scenario. Okay? But again, who benefits? Who wins? Who loses if you ultimately get your way? Right? And while football programs may get more revenue, may get a share of the TV pie, what's going to happen, I guarantee it is, one, you're going to get taxed to death and it's going to be worse off. You're going to have to pay for your own scholarship, by the way. That's going away. And then, by the way, all of those Olympic sports, right, that we champion, that we say, hey, you're creating an opportunity for young men and young women that don't play the revenue-generating sports to go to college for free on scholarship. Many of those will go away. Do you know why? Because they don't make business. They don't make money. And when you don't make money in a business and you lose money, what do? They get rid of you. Be careful what you wish for. You might well get it.